Alright, so last time we left off where cut up the floor and roughed in the plumbing. Now I'm getting on to the framing, and I had basically cut this out where I had laid out where I want the walls and everything, and I cut 4 inches off the wall. And you'll see a little bit later why I did that, just because of the floor. But anyway, so I'm gonna start with the framing here first, and I basically just like to build them on the ground, and I make them whatever the smallest measurement is gonna be a 1/4 inch less than that is what the wall will be. And I just think it's easier. You can always shim, up against the joist or whatever. So that's how I found to do it. And so I'm a little bit tight. Honestly, you could make the wall, 1/2 inch less than the measure, and you can always shim. So I generally make things a little tighter than they need to be, which isn't ideal in this case, but got it in there. And one of the greatest things I have invested in is a plate level. You can see, it's just an adjustable level, and in basements, there's just, never one measurement for, the ceiling to floor. So it's been a great addition, and it's fairly expensive, but it's not too crazy. And for as many basement refinishes and remodels we've done, it's definitely been worth it. But yeah, then here it's very important to do one sinker, I call it, just at an angle. It has a lot more holding power than the two on the bottom. It's just basically to tack it there until you can fully secure the stud, because it's pretty crazy how much the one at the angle really does. So now we're going to set this wall up, and with the window there, it's hard to know exactly how the wall is going to lay out, and I'm doing a drywall return into the window instead of doing like a jam extension, so it does need to be fairly on, and I just found it easier to stick build it after the fact and line everything up where I wanted it to be. And so we'll just keep going here. I made sure to have blocking, in the ceiling where, because, it hardly ever lays out where it's right on a joist. So just put some blocking in the middle and gonna line these up. I have the vent coming up in between these two walls. That's why I didn't build it as one. Could have done it a different way, but it's just how I decided to do it. When joining two walls, it's very important to make sure they're, on plane, not just, level, but also on plane, because otherwise the drywall will be a little funky. So, and I had previously, I don't know, maybe like 6 months ago, built a little, or the start of this laundry room, so I could, have a functional laundry room. But I'm just going to, extend the wall. I didn't know exactly how this was all going to lay out, so just extending the wall a little bit, and gonna make also this kind of built-in right next to the washer for soap and some towels or an iron or whatever. So that's what that little extra bump out wall is there. So this is all finished up with the framing just for the bathroom here, and yeah, gonna get on to the flooring. I am gonna do a built-in here. It's just gonna be shelving for towels or whatever. Gonna have a bathtub here, tub shower. Obviously the toilet's there, and the vanity will be right here. I can't make this wall here yet, just because the floor is not there, but it's gonna go from that post to right there, and the clean out there will be in the furnace room. So we're going to start by using the laser to get some marks for reference just for our floor, and we'll get to snapping some lines and get ready to pour back. So we just decided to bag mix this. It wasn't ideal, but there wasn't really a window at the time we could get into easily, and I don't know, it wasn't too crazy. I don't know with the paddle mixer. Honestly, with this whole hog, it's honestly kind of a beast. It was really easy to mix stuff up. Sure, it took maybe a little bit more effort, but I don't know. It's hard to also get a truck in position to pour something like this. So it ended up being about 60 bags, which is a decent amount, but it went all right. So we decided to section it off in two. It was just too much, and this was the end of the first day, and we just didn't have the full floor in us in one day. So that's why I did it in two pours. But yeah, just I'm mixing up as my dad's floating it and getting the levels correct. And this isn't the finished floor. This is just to have a level floor to tile on top of. That's our only objective. So the finish isn't a huge, deal. It doesn't need to be perfect. That's why maybe we could have, screeded it or whatever first. Make the finish a little stronger on the concrete, but it really does not matter. So as you can see here, we went down from the original floor about an inch, and then on our framing, we're almost net, we have a half inch on the floor over there. So that's why we framed first before we did this. It was just way too much of an angle to be able to try to do something without framing first. Yeah, we're just snapping our lines for the second one. And you can't see it here, but we did, tie in with some Tapcons, 5 or 6, against the slab on the old one. But can't really see it there, but that is important to do that. But yeah, just gonna get it keyed in and start on the second pour. This is the next day. We came back and we're doing this one. Yeah, lots of bag mixing, and yeah, it was a very physical day. If you've ever done anything like this, it is not fun to do this, but it's definitely worth it. It just is a little bit extra work rather than getting a truck or something. So I wasn't quite sure. We were down to like the last 2 or 3 bags, and I wasn't sure if we would get it. So we could slip through the side there. So I wanted to make sure we got this outside part finished first, and we had enough concrete for that before we went into the furnace room because we could always do that extra. We ended up having enough, but that's why we kind of walked ourselves into a corner there as well. But we obviously, like I said, we had room to squeeze by either way. But yeah, my dad's just finishing up troweling this for the first time, just basically getting the levels correct, I should say. And yeah, this is what it turned out. And over there to the right, the footing, it's like 3/8 higher than where our finished floor was going to be, and it wasn't smooth anyway. So I'm just going to floor fill that, and because concrete can't hold in, for less than 2 inches, so I'm just going to floor fill that and finish that. That's how I'm going to do that there. But yeah, I'm just a couple, an hour later or a couple minutes later, I'm getting on the trowel and just gonna finish it roughly. It's a decent finish, but it's not anything that's gonna be seen in a little bit. So just getting on, where I can, and I'm gonna finish this one out. So yeah, if you have any questions or comments, let me know. This is just again the way I'm doing things, deciding to do things, and we'll see how it turns out. But it's coming together, and slowly but surely we're gonna get there with the finished basement. So this is kind of the bathroom and hallway area kind of finished up. So we'll get on to some more framing next time.